And we're back with Michelle Dallago. Today on the People Chronicles, we're learning about the Perception Training Center in Pottsville, Montessori education. And Michelle, I apologize for my ignorance on Montessori education, but if you could briefly let our listeners know what it is, where it comes from.
Well, you can't talk Montessori in a day. You can't talk it in a month. But if I had to say what is Montessori education, I would say that it is an education that respects the child. You follow the child. There's a prepared environment. The child has the freedom to explore and engage in all of the activities that are available to them within the environment. And it's environmental. It's peaceful. It's following the child, which means that they can move at their own pace.
You can hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
It's peaceful. Whereas if you come into my house and someone does something wrong, I don't talk like this at all. It's screaming and yelling and carrying on. So maybe we can learn something from you today, Michelle.
Well, there's a book out there for Montessori teachers, and it's called The Child That Is Not Yet Peaceful. And Montessori education is peaceful. When children come through our doors, they're not ready necessarily for formal education. They don't necessarily know how to control their impulses.
How old are they? From what age to what age are they at your school?
We have children in our toddler room. We've taken care of infant toddlers from 3 months to 3 years. We have preschoolers and kindergarten children who work together from 3 to 6 years. And we've also recently opened up a 1st through 3rd grade. So this was all due to the parents' desire for us to offer a little bit more.
And where does the Perception Learning Center title come from?
Okay. Perception training comes from that original book that I read, and it was basically that perception training is what children need to, as a foundation to be able to go on and reach their full potential in learning and in life. Like I said, that visual training, that auditory training, that tactile training, to be able to interpret, what's coming at them through the senses is really important for a child. They need to know what's behind them, what's beside them, what's in front of them. Think about it. When they look at a B and a P and a Q, if they don't know position and direction, they're going to struggle with that. So it's basically the readiness that they need to go on to be able to be successful in formal learning. A child needs to be socially and emotionally available to learn, to be taught by a teacher when they get into, our public school system. And a lot of children aren't necessarily there yet. They're not ready to do that. So that's what we do. We follow the child with where they're at when they come in. Do they know how to manage their anger? Do they know how to be appropriate, in their social interactions? Or do they have a clumsiness and a need for, gaining control over their balance and their coordination or their physical development? We need to make sure that they have the fine motor skills that's necessary for their future writing, so that they don't feel frustrated when someone puts a pencil in their hand. I think, Jackie, in years past, we think about daycare, we think about, this age group, and it really wasn't a priority, to really pay attention to what's happening, in those years where children may be in daycare. But from the ages of even pre-birth to 8 years, this is where the brain is actually growing. The brain is growing, and these synapses, are kind of, the electricity is going back and forth, or there's pruning that's happening. So children that don't have, certain experiences to work through, what they need to work through, then they struggle in education, and they shouldn't have to.
So you went to 4 years of education at Kutztown University. And you have your very own school right now, the Perception Training Center, as we're learning about now, which is the middle of your story. You also teach at McCann School of Business, is that correct?
Yes.
And what do you teach?
I teach early childhood education to young adults.
And you have, where does the business background come from?
Well,
kind of like on-the-job training for you.
There was no business background.
That's exactly right. And that's what I find amazing, that, Michelle has started out with her beginning. She's a young girl who is driven to know that she is meant to do something for this world, for the younger children who don't have a voice. She moves on to having her own school, and we're going to find out the end of the story where we are still living on a prayer, and that's where I need you to finish that sentence for me. Why are we living on a prayer?
Well, I think, it goes back to, again, I think there are a lot of women out there who feel, as I felt, that there is something more deep down inside us. We all have a soul's intent, and we spend a lot of our prime years raising our children, and we're chauffeuring, we're cooking, we're cleaning, and sometimes at 11:30 at night we're still folding that last load of laundry, and maybe there are a lot of other women out there who feel, as I felt, that there is something still more, that there is still room to give more. And so I'm driving in my car, and I'm going down to, the new school. And of course, this was at a time when things were completely out of my hands. I had no idea how we were going to do what we were doing, and I had no money. And I turned on my ignition, and a song came on, and it was called When the Children Cry. And when I heard that song, it was talking about all that we destroy, they must build again. And when the children sing, a new world begins. And for some reason, my whole body just kind of had a chill that ran through it. And I saw John Bon Jovi. And John Bon Jovi doesn't sing that song. It was White Lion. And for some reason, I saw John Bon Jovi, and I didn't understand why. I was like, why? And I saw this major feature film, kind of flashing in my mind, that America needs to know the best way to educate our children, and I have to stop and say that I am a supporter of public education. I spent 10 years in our public middle school, and I absolutely support public education. Every child deserves a free and appropriate public education. And so it's ironic that now I'm doing private school, but when I heard that song, kind of a chill went through my body, and I was wondering, why am I seeing John Bon Jovi? He's a musician. He's not even a filmmaker, But it was, I think, the message that was being sent to me from the universe was that America needs to know that there's a great way to educate our kids. And this woman named Dr. Maria Montessori spent a lifetime practicing this work and observing children in these environments and seeing, the results of that. She worked with children with special needs who were then able to go into a public school setting and perform even higher than those children. So it was extremely thrilling for me, to see that. But I kind of buried it. I buried that idea of a movie, and I had to get focused, and I had to get Montessori training, and I had to stay focused on how are we going to pay the bills at the school, and how are we going to continue this great work. But little by little, as the years went on and as things started to feel a little better, the Bon Jovi thing kept coming back to where I ended up at Soul Kitchen, and I worked alongside his wife, folding linens, cleaning the bathroom of their modern day soup kitchen down in New Jersey. And I had a letter in my pocket for Dorothea's husband to say, I promise you I'm not a crazy fan. I am an ordinary person who
with
wants
a dream.
Who wants to do something just a little extraordinary. I want to make a movie, and because if I went back 13 years from now, that's what started it all, is this flash of let America know, that we can really do great things for our kids. And they are living in a global economy right now. They need, to be learning in the way that we allow them to learn in Montessori.
But you didn't give her the letter.
I didn't give her the letter. I think that it was, for me, at the time, I felt like it was disrespectful. I felt that here is this woman, and when I looked at her and I saw her working so hard, and her hair was tousled up, in a ponytail, and she didn't have makeup on. She wasn't glamorous, looking around saying, "I'm John Bon Jovi's wife." It was like looking at me, that here she was working for what she believed in, and how disrespectful would that be of me to try to give her the letter to say, I really want to get to your husband, because I really think with his celebrity, with his influence, that we as Americans can look at the best way to educate our kids.
And what a role model he would be. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
you have the movie already written.
Well, funny story. I actually am now talking with a filmmaker, and I told him my story, and he's like, he got the passion down, Michelle. He's like, and I want to see this through, and hopefully, I can help you with this, but not right now, he said. So he says, I want you to read this book. So now I'm reading, how to write a screenplay, the structures of screenplay, and I'm thinking to myself, this is why I keep seeing Bon Jovi in my head, because this is out of my league.
But it's not, and you know that. You admitted that in the very beginning of this podcast and video. So, Michelle, we could talk to you for literally probably another entire day to find out what's going to happen next, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for you. So when you're watching this on YouTube, you can share it and share it and share it. When you're listening to it as a podcast, you can share it even more, and you never know whose hands it will get into, as far as you've come right now, talking to a screenwriter, a film producer. Is that what it is? Yeah. Amazing story. So, Michelle Dallago, thank you so very much for joining us on the People Chronicles. It was a great story. We got to the beginning, the middle, and the end is not here just yet. So we wish you the best of luck. Michelle Dallago, I'm Jackie Hoffman on the People Chronicles.